John 11, verse 1. God knew his name, named Lazarus. The Lord knew where he lived, of the town of Mary. He knew his family and her sister Martha. It was, verse 2, that one that anointed the Lord with ointment. It was that Mary that dried his feet with the hair of her head, whose brother Lazarus was sick. Are you with me? Amen. Verse 3. Therefore the sisters of Lazarus sent word to Jesus. Now where is Jesus? We know Mary and Martha and Lazarus that's sick is in Bethany. Now Bethany is important historically, but Bethany is also important prophetically as we look into the future. When Jesus returned, where does he come back to? New York City? Moscow? Tel Aviv? The Mount of Olives, where at? In the closing verses of Luke's great book, the 24th chapter, Jesus led them out as far as Bethany. Luke records down around verse 50 or so, 48, somewhere in there. And from there he would be caught up back to heaven. There, Bethany, residing there in the premise of the Mount of Olives, the two angels, as they look at the disciples looking into heaven, and said, why look you into heavens? This same Jesus, not a different one, not a revised one, not a new one, not a modern one, but the same one that's gone up from God, from you unto heaven, will come back. How? In like manner, the same way he went up, he'll come back. Zechariah says in that day, his foot touches the Mount of Olives, and something happens. It splits in half, half toward the former sea, half toward the hinder sea, Zechariah chapter 14. And the people flee to the valley. The people of the Lord that are still alive and remain, flee to the valley that's been formed by the touching of his foot. Divine protection and provision provided for the people of that hour. Listen, we serve a great God. And a God that's mighty in power. And one that's able. And it's not a bad thing or a vain thing to put your faith and trust in God. It's never been more important. Because you may be locked out in the hospital before long. You may not be able to take your children there for help in time of sickness. You may have no choice but to trust in the Lord by whose stripes you're healed. And thank you for that verse, Harold. That was so fitting and so timely. Amen. By his stripes we were healed. We're not waiting for him to pay the price. Peter records he already did. And there was a time we trusted the Lord more than we do now. But because of necessity, we're going to have to learn to trust him again.